All right, Jovene, we need to talk about making recommendations with infinitive expressions. You guys already know how to tell someone to do something using commands, but here's another way to make a recommendation to someone without actually commanding them to do it. So we're going to be using infinitives in these expressions, and one way to do that is to use two verbs in a row. Here's the rule. It's 99% of the time rule because, of course, there's always exceptions. But for what you guys need to know, when using two verbs in a row, conjugate the first and leave the second alone in the infinitive. You will not typically have two verbs in a row that are conjugated. So we're just going to stick to that rule. It'll be more Spanish 3 when you see exceptions to that. So you can never have two conjugated verbs in a row. Conjugate the first, leave the second alone, which means in the infinitive, which means that it ends in AR, ER, or IR. Here are some verbs that are commonly followed by infinitives to make recommendations. Poder, necesitar, and deber. And I would like you all to write this down. You can do yoga in order to relax, and I would like you to translate this sentence to Spanish. This time it's not optional. I don't think you have had to relax, so I'm going to tell you what it is. It is relajarse. And you know that poder means to can, so you can do yoga. Keep in mind that when you say do yoga in Spanish, you're actually saying practice yoga. Here you need to do more exercise, so you need conjugate to need, necesitar, to do more exercise, and you shouldn't drink many soft drinks. And I think you have had soft drinks before, but we'll find out when we go over your notes. So again, fill these in, skip a line with your Spanish translations. Press pause, or you can continue on just leaving the space and fill these in later, but for full credit, you're going to fill these in. All right, part B of this grammar lesson, you do not have to recopy down these gray words. We are just continuing on. In this section, we're talking about verb expressions followed by infinitives. Expressions mean that they cannot be directly translated, but they more or less mean similar things in both languages. So, these two verb expressions followed by infinitives express obligation or recommendations, and they are IK plus infinitive, which you already know. We've been talking about all year. It's on your book covers. One must or it's necessary to do something. Something to keep in mind with this is that I is already conjugated. It comes from the verb haber, and it's the only form you will use because it is an impersonal expression. That means you don't conjugate it for a specific person. So this is already your phrase, IK plus infinitive. One must or it's necessary to blank. Here's an example. It's necessary to take vitamins. So using your vocab and this expression, you should be able to translate this sentence here. Give it a try. I'm going to be looking for that in your notes for credit. Skip a line. And now let's talk about our other verb expression. Tener que plus infinitive means to have to do something. Something to keep in mind for this one is that tener must be conjugated for the subject to say who has to do something. So in IK plus infinitive, I is already conjugated, but for tener, K plus infinitive, you're going to have to conjugate tener for your subject. So let's try two examples. Javier has to eat more, and I have to take care of myself. Knowing your vocab and using these expressions here, you should be able to fill in these sentences just like the sentences on the previous page. So these are your notes for this first section of grammar in your 5B topics. And again, this stuff isn't exactly new. We've been doing this all trimester. It's sort of common sense, but it is something we need to point out and make sure that you specifically understand in order to successfully finish Spanish 2. Good job.